Let us pray. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and that will promote the interest of our people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat U gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en dat U ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat U ons sal help om al ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan U op te dra. Sikalela ilezwe lethu nabantu balo. Umusili ukulungu kwipondo lethu. Posi sikalela iAfrika. Thina abantwana bayo. Kokela inkokeli zayo. Yaniki upolo iAfrika. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. Please be seated. Good afternoon, honourable members. Before I proceed, I would like to remind members about some of the logistical arrangements. As has been our practice to date, honourable members will participate in the sitting of the House, both from the chamber with the presiding officer and table staff, and via Microsoft Teams. Our standing rules have accordingly been amended to accommodate such hybrid sittings of the House. Honourable members experiencing challenges in connecting to the sitting are requested to contact the WCPP ICT colleagues who will assist to resolve the connectivity challenges. The quorum requirements for the sitting of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules. Unless there's an indication of unanimous concurrence, voting will be confined to members present in the House and on the hybrid system who are entitled to cast their votes as per the ATC issued on the 11th of August 2020. Members present in the chamber and via Microsoft Teams have all the privileges and immunities imparted by law. Members who are considered out of order by the presiding officer will have their microphones muted and called to order. Members' attendance have been registered. In instances, honourable members, where these directives do not cover a particular eventuality, the standing rules must apply, and in instances where the rules cannot be applied, the ruling by the presiding officer is final. Members, all microphones have been muted. However, I want to remind members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams, you are requested to use the raise hand functionality when you desire to raise a point of order, and I will recognize you. When an honourable member in the House wishes to raise a point of order, such an honourable member may address the presiding officer as expected, but must mute their microphones when they have completed speaking. Honourable members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams are also requested not to sign into Microsoft Teams on more than one device. The media have also been granted access to this MS Teams meetings as guests of the WCPP. However, members of the press may not use the chat room or speak or activate the cameras while the sitting is in progress. If an individual who is not a member of this House activates their microphone and video camera, such an individual will be exited from the sitting immediately. For the sitting, language translation services are available in the chamber as usual and on Microsoft Teams via the respective channels. Honourable members, I remind you that no interjections are permitted during these hybrid sittings, and to this end, I wish to draw your attention to Rule 40 of our standing rule. With that being said, we will now proceed to interpellations as printed on the question paper. I recognise the Honourable Premier for interpellation 2 on the order paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you very much to the Honourable Dugmore for the question. A, towards improving the face of government at health, education and social services delivery points in the 2023-24 budget, the following budget allocations have been made. Departments of Health and Wellness, 30 million rand, Education, 40 million rand, and Social Development, 20 million rand. B, as mentioned in my State of the Province address on the 16th of February 2023, I have crisscrossed the province over the past year, meeting with communities. I also made it a key objective to conduct unannounced service delivery site visits at some of our key institutions which serve the public. What I found was that while many of our clinics, schools, hospitals, and social development sites are in good condition, some are in need of a facelift. It is this It is in this financial year that funding has been set aside to aid these departments to make improvements at certain facilities to improve their condition and the overall user experience. This includes work such as painting or new signage, perhaps a window replacement, replacement of furnishings, and general cleanliness. This program is aligned with the values of the Western Cape government, which is to show care to our residents by ensuring that we provide them with dignified service. Due to shrinking national budgets, we cannot unfortunately tackle all the institutions at once, and we are therefore focusing this year's allocation to our hotspots and rural areas. We hope that the spend will serve as a catalyst for upliftment and a new sense of pride in these communities, of which, of course, our residents deserve.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. I recognise the Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The ANC wishes to be very clear today. We condemn this exercise because it could well be described as wasteful and fruitless expenditure. Amidst the trying economic times, when people are struggling to make ends meet and when more can be pumped into actually ensuring that frontline services operate effectively, this provincial government spends this amount of money, 40 million, 30 million, on a facelift. We will come to the real reasons why in a moment. When we debated the budget earlier this year, and in particular budget vote 1 of the Department of the Premier, we pointed out that the Premier allocates no money for fighting real battles, but spends money on facelifts. For example, we mentioned then, and we will continue to state, that while fighting GBV by this lead department of the Premier does not get any funds, his communications machinery for this year certainly got massive funding. We said then, and we will repeat today, this Premier is the weakest Premier this province has had since 1994, and he needed the more than 70 million this year to prop up his image.
Order, members. Order. Order, members. Order. There's a member on the floor. Order, members. Honourable Dugmore, you may continue.
He needed more than 5 million in particular to prop up his image in regard to the comms strategy. There was no money for fighting GBV, but 5 million was budgeted for the Premier's PR exercises. And today we see where that 5 million budgeted for PR and communications is going. The Honourable Bradell must stop complaining about the little money they receive from national government, because PR exercises is what this provincial government spends that money on. Cuts to essential services such as health and education are directly impacting.
Order, members. Members, there's a member on the floor on the hybrid virtual platform. Please allow the member to make his contribution. Honourable Dugmore, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. As duidelik dat die waarheid maak seer. Contracts of nurses are ended. The Blue Dot program is ended. But money is pumped into giving this weak Premier's provincial government a facelift. Cuts to building more houses and delivering basic services to the communities that actually need them. That yet more money into spin and no substance. No money for fighting GBV in this provincial government. No money for social workers in our schools, but more money into giving business to companies such as Resolve. Well, the reality is this emperor of a Premier is naked, and no amount of PR exercises will save him. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Dugmore. I now recognise the Honourable Fry.
Honourable Speaker, it is clear that this government has cared more for its people ever since 1994. It is clear that this government cares about the dignity of all its citizens since 1994, and since 2009, even more so, more than what has ever been done in the 15 years prior to that. Mr. Speaker, the ANC fails to acknowledge that there is a whole of society as well as a whole of government approach in the name of a family strengthening program that is headed by the Department of the Premier and includes the Departments of Health and Wellness and Social Development. Mr. Speaker, in the face of strong economic headwinds, both from a shrinking economy and constricting and constraining lessening of an equitable share, even in the face of these strong headwinds, this government has made it its clear objective to provide jobs, to provide safety, and to provide dignity and well-being to this government. This is the face of government. And if it means that we constantly evolve the face of government to show that we care, then so be it. This government cares for its people.
Thank you, Honourable Fry. Honourable members, I now recognise the Honourable Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I know the Premier spoke about, dignity and spoke about user-friendly. I had to intervene not so long ago where a mother was turned away with a sick child at Bishop Lavis Day Hospital. I got hold of the HOD, sent him a message, and he intervened. But Premier, you still have these cases where, the child is sick and they turn back and they, people panic. And this lady said, asseblief, die kind is regtig siek. As daar enigiets wat jy kan doen. So somebody sent it to me. So we still have these cases where, people are turned back coming early out this morning. So I just want to know from your side, are you doing anything? We know that, people wait for a long time, but when a child is critical ill, according to the parent, I'm not a doctor, so that is what the parent says. What do we do? So luckily I've got the HOD on WhatsApp and I could intervene, but there's a lot of people that cannot intervene, that do not know what to do. So what do you do as a government when people complain and say, listen, we are turned back, our children are sick? I had the same problem with Karl Bremer, where somebody went in and it was too full, because if you come late, then you're not going to be assisted. So we still have major problems. And I know we talk about the budget and you must prioritize, but this is our people that's in dire need. And that's why I'm just asking you what your government is doing. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Christians. I recognise Honourable Dugmore, your second opportunity.
Speaker, allow me now to point out the real reason why the so-called face of government had to change. We only need to look to Barrydale and George, where recent by-elections took place. In Barrydale, the ANC took the ward away from the DA. In George, the PA won a ward where the DA were confident that they would win. And so the DA has to engage in fear politics, fear tactics, and move back into their lager thinking. Finally, the ACDP and the Freedom Front Plus are no longer threats to the DA. They are simply the house poodles in the Moonshot Pact. But the DA is still losing support. So what do? Have a facelift. Ek moet en ons ook moet verbaas wees dat die facelift dat die DA wil hê is die drie kleure van die apartheid Suid-Afrikaanse vlag. Ja, kyk na die kleure. Talk about showing your true colors. This is the logo of the facelift. 3 colors, 3 apartheid flag colors, blue, orange, and white. Speaker, the ANC is not surprised at this facelift. Instead of going for better, the DA takes the people of the Western Cape backwards to a divided South Africa, backwards to federalism, backwards to past privileges, backwards to racism, and not addressing the real injustices, back to fear tactics such as swart gevaar, backwards to the apartheid's flag colors as the logo of this provincial government. The rest of South Africa must know that the DA will take us back to apartheid. The rest of South Africa must know that the DA is okay with Mr. Peter Marais' racism, and the only reason why he's not a member of the DA is because some object to the blatant racism of the FF+. Well, today, both the DA and the FF+ are in bed together. They are the racist right-wing Moonshot Pact together. And where they govern, they are taking us back to apartheid. We don't need fancy facelifts. We need more teachers, more nurses, more people on the ground servicing the working class and rural communities. The DA, with its facelift, takes us back to apartheid.
Are you is that?
Yes, I've concluded.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. Honourable members, order. Honourable Premier, it's now your opportunity.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and again to the Honourable Dugmore for placing the question. I noted that the members across the House that clapped for him after his latest input are the ones that didn't vote for him. That's quite interesting. But Mr.
Order.
Speaker,
Order.
Mr. Speaker,
Order. Order.
Mr.
Order.
Speaker, what is absolutely clear.
Order, members. The Premier's on the floor. It's now the Premier's opportunity to respond.
Mr. Speaker, what is absolutely, and I've got limited time, what is absolutely clear is that Dugmore has lost touch with the people. When last has he been on the ground? And,
Order.
you know, I want to link.
Order, members.
Answer.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Order, members. Honourable Dugmore, please. You are that is out of order. Interjection on the hybrid session as per Rule 40 is not allowed. Honourable Kama, is that a point of order?
Yes, Honourable Speaker, I think the Premier is aware that he's supposed to say Honourable Dugmore and not just Dugmore.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. You are quite correct. Honourable
Only
Premier,
if he
all
is
members
honourable.
of the House is honourable members. So if you can please refer to the honourable member as Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you, Speaker. I absolutely apologize and withdraw. It slipped my mind. I thought he was voted out, but it wasn't out of the seat yet. But the Honourable Dugmore has lost touch with the citizens of this province. We are citizen obsessed. We believe in making the biggest difference we can to the citizens of this province. And if you go and have a look at our facilities where we do need a tile replaced or a broken glass window replaced, we must do it, because the one thing that the ANC have absolutely messed up with, they've forgotten about maintenance. They've forgotten about making sure that the infrastructure of our country remains in place and is maintained and looked after. They have lost it totally, and that's why we have a port that doesn't work, railway lines that don't work. We have energy systems that don't work. The ANC have taken this country to absolute destruction. The Honourable Dugmore was talking about going forward and not going forward in a pact. The ANC have taken us forward to destruction, taking us forward to total failure and total meltdown. And the real thing, and the Honourable Dugmore used this opportunity to reflect on election outcomes. Well, the last test for election outcomes was in George. And very interestingly, the election outcome in George in Ward 27, the official opposition in this province didn't even put a candidate up. In Ward 16, they got a total of 31 votes. And of course, let's go and have a look in Ward 20. What did the ANC get?
Order.
A total of 80 votes. They couldn't even get 100 votes in the whole of George.
Honourable Premier, please take your seat. Honourable members in the House, can I please ask that you work with me? Honourable Premier, I'm on the floor. I'm addressing the House. Can I please ask that you allow the Premier to make his input? I don't want to stifle debate and interjections, but you are drowning out the Speaker.
Point of order.
Honourable Dugmore, I will recognise you as soon as I'm done. So can I please ask members that you please allow the member on the floor to make the input. We still have a long way to go through the sitting, so I want to ask your cooperation in the beginning of the sitting. Honourable Dugmore, what is your point of order?
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, the point of order relates to the Premier misleading the House. He was reading out election results in the recent by-elections, and he claimed that in Ward 20, the ANC got 80 votes. The ANC got 516. That's misleading the House. It's misleading the House.
Honourable Dugmore, when you raise a point of order, you do not need to justify the point of order. So your point of order was that you deem that the Premier is misleading the House, and that is if you want to bring any conduct of a member to the attention of the House, please do so as per the rules. That is not a point of order. Honourable Premier, you may continue.
Thank you very much, Speaker. So again, I want to reiterate that it's obvious that the Honourable Dugmore has lost touch with the citizens. We need to make sure that we are investing in government spaces that offer services to our citizens. And that's exactly what we're doing here. From the Honourable Christians, I absolutely get what he says, because you've got to get the balance right. You can't not do maintenance. You can't not look after your facility, because once it goes past a point of no return, the whole place falls to pieces, as we've seen in every other province in South Africa and anything that the ANC touches. So it is about getting that balance right. So a fraction of the over 30 billion rand budget to the Department of Health goes to making sure that we've got to look after the facility too, because also a doctor must be able to get to work and feel like this is a place that I want to work. And a patient, more importantly, must get to a place and say, I'm happy that I'm getting a great service at this place. We've got to make sure that and it is a balance. Of course, it's a balance. But that is exactly what this is. And that is what came of on the ground, sitting with citizens in waiting benches, in hospitals, or speaking to parents at schools, or, that's what happens. And you have a look and you say, well, you need to increase spend with maintenance. And that's how this project came about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier, honourable members. That brings us to the end of interpellation 2 as Honourable Van Vogel, do you have a point of order? Order, members. That brings us to the end of interpellation 2 as printed on the order paper. I omitted to inform the House in the beginning interpellation 1 has been withdrawn. So we now move on to interpellation 3 as printed on the question paper. I now recognize the Honourable Minister, Minister Mania.
Thank you, Speaker. We are making bold investments to improve learning outcomes and expand access to education for children in the Western Cape, which of course is why we will spend 1.2 billion rand over the next 3 years on our Back on Track program to reverse learning losses, improve learning outcomes, and of course give our children a better future, which is why we are implementing our Rapid School Build program to deliver additional schools and classrooms across our province faster than ever before. And we'll spend 2.9 billion rand this year on expanding access to education, which is why we'll spend an additional 68 million rand specifically to improve our support for learners with autism spectrum disorder, which is why we are spending an additional 67 million rand this year on improving the resources available to learners with profound intellectual disability, and which is why we are working with the World Bank to support and improve learning outcomes with an education sector analysis. So in the end, Speaker, we are able to deliver on our vision, which of course is to deliver quality education for every learner in every classroom, in every school in the Western Cape. Now we understand that the admissions process is a stressful one for our parents, and we will, of course, do everything we can to support them as we work to place their children. If there are any parents up in the gallery today or watching, we have made provision and ensured that there are officials available downstairs who can chat to you. And so I urge any of you who are struggling to take that opportunity. Turning, of course, to the interpellation, I was a little bit surprised with the specific reference to the timelines, given the fact that the honourable member announced the answer to his own question earlier this week in a press conference based on information which has been publicly available for months. So I could simply refer the member to himself for the response and quote his own press statement, which is as follows. Between 19 July and 31 August 2023, schools review admissions lists and contact parents who applied on the system and still need a place. But of course, for the benefit of the House, let me repeat our admissions timeline. On-time applications closed on the 14th of April 2023, and parents started to receive offers from the 29th of May 2023. Schools are able to make offers to parents until the 31st of August 2023, and they will then submit their placement lists to the department. Once that data has been verified, we will then assist the parents who have not received an offer at a school. We, of course, are still, therefore, in the first phase of placement, where schools are still offering places to parents, and they will continue to do so until the 31st of August 2023. We are months, Speaker, ahead of other provinces because, of course, we do want to find places for all the children seeking placement in the Western Cape. And so, Speaker, it seems to me that the honourable member seems to have jumped the gun. Of course, we do understand that the placement process can cause frustration for parents, and we ask for their patience as schools continue to make offers. Surely, Speaker, as members, our goal should be to support our parents and to work together rather
Minister,
than trying to manufacture a crisis. Thank you.
Your time has expired for your first opportunity. I now recognize the Honourable Syed.
Honourable Speaker, I'm firstly very pleased to know that the Honourable MEC reads my press statements very, very carefully. In fact, I'm also even further pleased to know that the Democratic Alliance sent a contingent of, I think, 3 to 4 staff members to even attend my press conference. So that's really pleased to know. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Order, members.
Since the closing...
Order. Honourable Syed, please take your seat. Honourable members, there's a member on the floor. Honourable Syed, can you... Honourable members? Honourable Bakabaka Force, I'm addressing the House. Can I please ask members, there's a member on the floor. Honourable Syed, can you please speak to me in order for me to protect you? So honourable members, Honourable Syed, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Since the closing of the admissions applications for the 2024 academic year, the African National Congress in the Western Cape has been inundated with cries for help from desperate parents. I know Member Christians has also been inundated, and Member Kasim, from desperate parents who applied correctly and timeously, but the children were rejected by all schools that they applied to. This will surely contribute, Honourable Speaker, to the unplaced learner crisis, and I emphasize the word crisis in the province, as thousands of learners will not have placement spaces in schools in the Western Cape. This is why both parents and the learners who have been rejected by all schools they applied to remain anxious and distressed as the school year fast approaches an end. On numerous occasions, the ANC has sought to get details of how many learners have been placed in schools for the 2024 academic year, how many are yet to be placed from the MEC, and up until now, as we have seen from his first response, he has been ducking and diving, pulling every trick in the book to avoid giving us answers. MEC Mania and his department are withholding this information deliberately as they try to hide the depth of the crisis. The decision by this DA-led government to withhold the information is a shameful and callous act, Honourable Speaker. It is deeply unfair to the parents and learners who are denied information that will help them make informed decisions about the future of their children. The MEC's decision is based on spurious claims which he makes that the process is still ongoing and that schools have until the end of August 2023 to review admission lists and contact parents who applied and still need a place. This argument by the Honourable MEC Mania is nonsensical, to say the least, as parents of successful applicants were informed of application outcomes, as he has said, from 29th May up until 19th June 2023, and from 20th June 2023, all the system started to activate the first successful option where parents failed to decide on which school they accepted. And we're making this crystal clear. MEC Mania is
Honourable
clearly
Syed.
able to ascertain
Honourable
and
Syed,
thus
your time
reveal
has
the number
expired.
of learners and has
Honourable
not,
Syed,
that have
your
not been
first
successfully placed.
Honourable Syed, I called you 3 times to remind you that your time has expired. You'll have a second opportunity. I now recognize the Honourable Bartman.
Speaker, I thank firstly the Minister for his particular response, but also for the department for the exceptional work that they are currently doing. The department is operating months ahead of the schedules established in other provinces. We know that under the WCED, schools begin to send out acceptance letters in May. For example, schools in Gauteng will only begin this process on the 4th of September, by which the WCED will already have begun the process of assisting those learners who have
Order.
not yet received placement
Order.
offers. This means the WCED is ahead of the curve by 3 months. Parents and learners are kept informed by means of a transparent and responsive system and are able to
Order,
query or
members.
appeal any rejections their children might receive. But Speaker, with this in mind, I find the members' assertions quite ridiculous from the opposition. The member refuses to acknowledge the work that the department has done and the fact that the department is outstripping provinces where the ANC governs. But perhaps this is unsurprising since the member and his party voted against the department's unprecedented and much needed infrastructure in investment, including the 115 million rand in additional funding the Western Cape received from national government because provinces such as the Eastern Cape failed to spend the infrastructure money. With this in mind, Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister how many extremely late applications the department
Order.
has received for the 2024 school year and what impact these extremely late applications will have on the placement process. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. I recognize the Honourable Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, I do agree that the placing of learners is in the first phase and that we conclude on the 31st of August 2023. But Speaker, my biggest concern still is children in disadvantaged communities that want better education because of gangs, drugs, and all these problems we have in those communities. When those parents apply for to improve the education of their children in other suburbs, they are refused. And I still have a problem, Minister, when you have Bondi, for example, you have 3 high schools there, only one of the high school offers pure maths, and that is the limit placed on that community. I want to know, Minister, what is your department doing? And I mean, we engage with your department on a regular basis. They assist where they can. But you know, when somebody applies in Mitchell's Plain and we're waiting Mitchell's Plain to 5 schools and rejected at 5 schools, it's a problem. It's a problem. So there is specifically a problem when it comes to people that want to apply outside of their area because the subjects is not offered or they are scared for the safety of their children. So, Minister, please, it's not the first time I'm asking it. I've asked it before. What has been done for the child that's looking for a better future being rejected at schools outside of the area? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Christians. I recognize Honourable Kasim.
Speaker,
Honourable Kasim.
yes, Speaker, thank you. Since the beginning of the 6th Parliament, the Western Cape education system has been regressing, with the Premier of the province chopping and changing MECs for education as a result of incompetence. Things are even getting worse under the current MEC who runs a dysfunctional education department. The provincial government uses 90% of its time to compare itself to other provinces, yet they cannot explain why they occupy 4th place when it comes to the 2022 matric results. Every time when things are not going well for this education department, then the blame is placed on the Eastern Cape along the lines of semigration. Speaker, the current DA provincial administration does not have a competent individual who can run this department. And this is frustrating to parents every year as they need to fight the department when it comes to learner placement. Speaker, the learner placement system also has elements of racism, but this is normal under this DA administration. Majority of former Model C schools appear to operate with what seems to be a racial quotas in making sure that majority of white people are placed in, or rather white learners are placed in these schools, while black and colored learners will be told that this is full and placement will be made available for them in township schools. This has especially been made clear when black or colored learners are told that the school is full, only for the same school to admit a number of white learners later. Speaker, even our black learners from leafy suburbs who want to be admitted into former Model C schools are given placements in township schools, but same does not happen with white learners. The question then arises, why are white learners not placed in township schools? Having said that, Speaker, can this department explain who makes a determination regarding the number of learners who should be in each class and whether learner to class ratio is the same between former Model C schools and township schools? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Kasim. Honourable Syed, your second opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, firstly, allow me to respond to Member Bartman. I think it's quite disingenuous to now decide to shift the focus to late applications. We are dealing here with applications that were made on time. That's typical of the DA, to shift the focus and run away from responsibilities. Also, other provinces that you may be referring to have fared better than our province in terms of the matric results. That's just on the side. Whilst I thank the MEC for his response, it is unfortunate that he still refuses to make this information public. The decision by the MEC and his department is irresponsible, as it prevents this House as an oversight body, as well as parents and other education stakeholders from knowing about the depth of the unplaced learner crisis for the 2024 academic year. This information is crucial for the whole of society approach, which the Honourable Premier often refers to, as together with the department, parents, and other stakeholders, we can work to find meaningful solutions to the crisis. And yes, Honourable Bartman, we do give the department credit when credit is due, and we actually assist them, and they are grateful for that assistance. The ANC is simply calling on the MEC and his department to be transparent about the number of unplaced learners, including the reasons for the crisis, and to hold to account those responsible for the poor planning and the glitches around the learner application process in the province. The DA thinks nothing of transparency and accountability. The ANC will continue to fight for a transformed and quality education system that benefits all in the province. The MEC must release the figures of learners who have been placed, learners who have been accepted in all schools as of today, as well as those who have not yet been accepted and have not even been responded to. No decency to even respond to them. In addition, he must make public his plans to ensure that all learners are placed in schools. Finally, we commend the various education activists, civil society formations, our ANC branches, our alliance partners, for taking up the fight to ensure that no child must be left behind. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Syed. Honourable Minister Mania.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Order.
I would like to begin where I ended and again remind members that we are still in the first phase of placement, where schools are offering places to parents, and of course they will continue to do so until the 31st of August 2023. We are months ahead of other provinces, and what seems to me, what is clear,
Order.
is that the honourable member has jumped the gun, and indeed his true intention appears to manufacture a crisis where none exists. I'd like to thank the Honourable Bartman for her reference to late applications. Already in the 2024 admission cycle, we have received 30,000 late applications, which makes it very difficult to manage the admissions process. Of course, what makes it particularly difficult is the extremely late applications which often occur in the last 3 months of a year. In the first 3 months of 2023, we received 4,000 extremely late applications. Many of those applications, in fact, occurring well after the school gates had opened. And that does cause a challenge for the department. We are not sure how many extremely late applications we will receive. We are unsure about what grades, languages, and ages of the learners who will be applying, and we are not certain of the specialized subjects or indeed the special needs of the learners. And this is a challenge in our planning. And so I really would like to appeal to parents and guardians who may not have applied to please immediately apply for a place at a district office. Of course, the Honourable Sahed raises the question of transparency and says that I am ducking and diving. Of course, exactly the opposite is true. In 2023, I committed to being transparent on the admissions system. And the Honourable Member will recall that we submitted a detailed report to the Standing Committee on Education. And we released at least 7 detailed statements during the admissions period, which provided very detailed information on both our admission system and our rapid school build. And I will certainly be doing something very similar for the 2024 admissions cycle. The Honourable Furlong Christians raises a very good question. But of course, he will be aware that we do not have declared feeder zones in this province, unlike, of course, many other provinces in our country, which expands the opportunities and the schools to which learners can apply. So a learner in Mitchell's Plain can, of course, apply to many of the good schools in Mitchell's Plain, but is also able to apply to schools outside Mitchell's Plain. Now, the Honourable Sahed opened saying that I pay very close attention to his press statements, which, of course, I do, because they are so often flawed and full of fiction.
Honourable Minister, your time has expired. Please conclude.
He claimed in his press statement that one parent...
Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable Said, is that a point of order?
Point of order, Chair. You indicated that the Honourable Minister's time is up. So it should be done. It should not continue speaking.
Honourable Said, honourable members, Honourable Said, the same latitude to conclude that I gave and afforded to you, I'm affording to the Minister. Minister, please conclude.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The Honourable Member claimed that a learner had been rejected by multiple schools. The truth of it is, when you read his statement carefully and do your research, what we actually find that the learner was in fact offered a place 1.5 months ago.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Please take your seat. Your time has expired.
Point of order.
Thank you very much, honourable members. That brings us to the end of interpellations as per Rule 197. We will now move over to questions for oral reply as per Rule 202. But before we begin, I would wish to advise honourable members that once the Honourable Premier or a Minister has started the reply to the oral question, as printed on the question paper, honourable members must use the chat facility who's online for the sitting to indicate that they want to ask a follow-up question, and honourable members in the chamber to please give an indication to the table staff if you so wish to. There are 4 opportunities for follow-up questions, but the honourable member who has posed the initial oral question as printed on the question paper will have the first opportunity for the follow-up question. Thereafter, other honourable members may then use the remaining opportunities if they so wish. on the first oral question is over to you, Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for the opportunity, and thank you very much to the Honourable Kama for the question. The Western Cape Government promotes the founding provisions of the South African Constitution and its guiding values of human dignity, the achievement of equality, and the promotion of human rights and freedoms. Former President Nelson Mandela embodies this and embodied this when he stated, "I have cherished the ideals of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities."
Premier, continue.
Seems as though the ANC don't believe that that's what he said. The Western Cape Government across all departments have initiated various programs to ensure that Nelson Mandela's values are embodied and embedded in the interventions we implement in all communities across the province.
Honourable Premier, please take your seat. Honourable members, there's a member on the virtual platform. Can I just ask the table staff to please ensure that all microphones are muted? And then also members in the chamber, again, I ask for your indulgence when a member's on the floor. I do not want to stifle the interjections in the chamber, but you must please work with me to allow the member on the floor to have an opportunity to make his or her submission. Honourable Premier, over to you, and my apologies for the interruption.
Thank you very much. In the Honourable Kama's question, he specifically references words like legacy of hope. If ever there was a province that's instilling hope in citizens of South Africa, it is this province. Reconciliation, social cohesion, and unity. And I will give a reply on those issues because he's asked it across our government. But also, if I think about just my own department and my own very office and what we did together as a team, recognizing Tata Madiba on Mandela Day, going into service spaces in society where we engaged with citizens, but where we arrived in our boots and our overalls, and we got stuck into cleaning, and we got stuck into helping to make sure that those service sites are better able to deliver services to our citizens. So part B is a comprehensive answer to the 24 pages of this, and I think I'll start to read some of the items, but of course the honourable member knows that this full answer is handed out to the Parliament. But for example, DCAS, and if I think about social cohesion, which falls under the social cohesion space, and DCAS, which is continuing to increase its footprint in the after schools program, 346 schools now up to 515 schools, and depending on the year, up to 49,000 young people involved in these after school programs, which is about social cohesion, but it's also about caring. It's about understanding we've got to get young children opportunities to help them make sure that they can live in an opportunity-driven society. Childcare and child protection. If we look at the DSD department, 12,914 children placed in foster care, 1,059 were reunited with their families, 10,517 parents and caregivers completed parent education and training programs, again, under the social cohesion, unity and reconciliation lead. If we look at the work that the Chrysalis Academy does under DOCS, again here, if you think about hope, absolutely. If I think about the thousands of young people who over the years have had opportunity through the Chrysalis Academy, these are young people coming out of our most vulnerable communities, given an opportunity not only at the academy in training in various areas to help them into the future, but then of course helping them with a stipend and a position in government. If ever there was anything that gives hope to a young person, this program does exactly that. Madiba would be very proud. In DCAS, community-based sports and culture programs, and of course that again, social cohesion, 35,702 youth participated in these opportunities this last year. If we look at DOCS again, community safety partners supported this again, social cohesion, and you can go to your area-based team across this province, exactly reaching in to making this difference that was in that ideal. And so we've got Department of Infrastructure deploying additional, the Department of Mobility deploying additional traffic and highway patrol officers into areas where we really need to make the biggest difference. And again, using technology and innovation. But when you bring it all together, what does it do? It brings hope to citizens, because we are dealing with a serious issue, but at the same time making a difference in society. Department of Agriculture through the Rural Safety Plan, social cohesion again, DSD and their programs there. 70,504 families participated in family preservation and support services. DSD has supported .P and other departments in co-designing norms, standards, and strengthening evidence, informed family strengthening programs that would help families across our whole province. Again, social cohesion. And Mr. Speaker, I could go on and on, from the first 1,000 days to expert teams focused on safe spaces, to National Drug Master Plan in social cohesion and hope, to informal settlement programs, mapping serious violent crime. And so we go on 24 pages. I'm not going to go into each and every one of them, but across every single department, embedded in exactly those words that were raised in the question from the Honourable Kama. So, Honourable Kama, thank you very much for that question. And it is always good to see from a question like that exactly what is happening across this province. I am pretty certain that Madiba would be very proud of these actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. I now recognize the Honourable Kama.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I think let me appreciate the response of the Premier, and especially that he speaks about the founding provisions of the Constitution. And in reality is that the structure of the economy in the Western Cape has not changed since 1994. And it is untransformed. Social inequality and spatial segregation still persists. And in recognizing the legacy of Nelson Mandela, I can also say without doubt that Nelson Mandela would not be proud that he spent 67 years in prison for what the Premier was saying. But I want to understand then, what programs has this government put in place, including specific annual targets to address spatial segregation and social inequalities like income gap, gender inequality, and disparities in the education and healthcare system. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm really tempted to read this whole document to the Honourable Kama, but I'm not going to do that. And it's interesting how obviously the Honourable Kama sits in this very house. And if I think about a very similar question asked last time, we had details around the difference that's being made. And sure, I too am saying 30 years into democracy in our country, we definitely have not done enough. We definitely have not changed sufficiently. But you know what disappoints me is that the province that has the lowest Gini coefficient is this province. The province where the most jobs are created is this province. The province with the lowest unemployment rate in South Africa is this province. And the honourable member says the Tata Madiba would not be proud. I promise you what Tata Madiba would not be proud of is how the ANC is failing every single citizen of this province, and how the ANC are failing in the other provinces so badly. And I really would like honourable members from the ANC, when they stand up in this house, to tell us where we are failing and where they are succeeding, and give us an example in one other province of where they are making a massive difference, where they are making big change. Give us one province. This province's track record is way better than any other ANC province. And I don't discount that we have got a long way to go still. Many people have got to feel the real difference in this new South Africa. But that's why we do what we do. That's why we have a safety plan, because the ANC have failed us in South Africa and the people of this province. That's why our jobs for growth.
Honourable Premier, please take a seat. Honourable members, the Premier is responding to a question that was posed to him. If you want to ask a follow-up question, there's an opportunity as per the standing rules. but this constant interjections are drowning out the speaker and will not be tolerated. My apologies, Premier, for the interruption. Please continue.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Maybe I don't have to speak so loudly if it's a bit quieter in the room. That's why our Jobs for Growth plan, a bold, ambitious plan that's pushing the boundary further than ever before, because we need to make sure that every single citizen in this province has an opportunity, as per the question. The question about creating opportunity and what Mandiba said himself, in a place where everyone has an opportunity. That's why we are busy with programs that the Minister of Education has just spoken about, catch-up programs, not happening in one other province. That is why we do what we do. And we push those boundaries harder and further than ever before in an environment where our budgets are put under such pressure. Why? Because the ANC can't even keep the lights on in South Africa. We get downgraded. And of course, it's a very difficult environment in which to do this. But this province is showing that it can be done despite the ANC.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members. Honourable members. Honourable members. Honourable members on my left-hand side, I've been very patient, and I've been trying to not stifle debate, interjections. Honourable members, I'm now asking you for the last time to please observe the decorum of the House and apply the rules or adhere to the rules. And when the member's on the floor, to allow that member to make their input. Whether you agree with it or not, the rules provide for you to raise your hand and to pose a follow-up question if you don't agree with the response that you are getting. Honourable members, just for noting, the next person would be Honourable Fry, and then Honourable Kama. I noted you have a follow-up question. Are there any further follow-ups with this question? Honourable Fry.
Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. Thank you to the Premier for the answer. I would like to know, given Nelson Tata Madiba's legacy and the values of this government, where would the Premier see the congruency between the values of this government and Tata Madiba and what he stood for? Thank you.
Honourable Fry, we were struggling to hear you in the chamber. May I please ask that you repose your question?
Is that better, Speaker?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to know from the Premier, given the values of this government and the values of Nelson Mandela, where would you see the congruency between the different the values of this government and the values of Madiba? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Fry. Honourable Premier, did you get that?
Thank you very much. It's nice that the Honourable Fry refers to values, because I think that is a big issue in South Africa. We across our country need to really think about all of our values. And that is why in this government, we spend so much time focusing on values. And that's the whole point around having a culture journey, because a value of caring, because we are citizen obsessed, a value of responsiveness, because we are citizen obsessed. You know, we really take our values, we embed them in what we do, because at the end of the day, we are a government. And we're a government that has been elected to serve the people to the best of our abilities. And when we do that, I think we do that exactly when I say these words that I quote from former President Mandela. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. We need equal opportunities in our society. We need harmony. We need a democratic and free society, not a society held captive by crime, and especially held captive by poverty and held captive by economics that really are not enabled because of really seriously failing ANC policy.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Kama.
Well, thank you very much, as Speaker. Although my first question was not responded to, but let me ask this question, as Honourable Speaker. because it is the very same Tata Nelson Mandela that said the DA will remain a party of white bosses and black stooges. And quite recently, the latest black victim of the DA, Speaker Ngasela, said the DA does not believe there was apartheid. Now, I want to understand, because in terms of youth unemployment in the Western Cape, 96% of them are Black Africans and coloreds. Now, how is this government, because you said that you believe in the founding provisions of the Constitution, whose preamble says we adopt the Constitution to heal the divisions of the past. Now, how are you in the Western Cape as a government ensuring that you intervene and have programs, and which programs are you having? Surely a EPWP program, a first-time opportunity, work opportunity, will not change the economy of this province. Now, what programs are you having in place to ensure that these young Black Africans and coloreds who actually have hope in the Western Cape, that in the future, there will not be a face of crime, a face of unemployment, and a face of all the social ills that we find in our society? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. I'm going to refer the Honourable Kama to a document. It's 196 pages long. It's called G for J, and it is on our website. And that is exactly an opportunity document with bold targets of R1 trillion economy, where everybody in this economy has an opportunity, and specifically young people in our economy have an opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, this is the last opportunity. I recognise the Honourable Kama.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Now,
Order.
what I want to understand, Speaker, is that the very same President Nelson Mandela is quoted to have said that racism must be opposed by all means that humanity has at its disposal. Now, I want to understand, because whether through the media or different parts of the media, we continue to realize that apartheid and racism tendencies in the Western Cape are very high. And now I want to understand from the Premier, in terms of these government programs and the vision-inspired priorities, how has this government sought to address the issue of racism? Are there any specific programs that are happening in this province to tackle racism? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I allowed you some latitude. There was more than just one follow-up. Premier, I'm not going to dictate how you answer that. Order, members. Premier, over to you.
Every single program is about how do we get redress right? How do we fix the faults of the past? Fix apartheid, which destroyed so many people's opportunities in this country. And that is exactly what needs to be focused on. But we'll say one thing to the Honourable Kama, that the ANC, 30 years.
Order. Order, members. The Premier is trying to respond to a question that was posed. Honourable Barnes, you'll have an opportunity in the second question. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. 30 years into our democracy, nothing to show for it. And at the end of the day, they're going to be voted out next year. And talking about that and quoting Tata Madiba, I'll tell you one quote that he did say. If the ANC government treats you the same way that the apartheid government treated you, vote them out of power. That's what's happening next year.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Premiers, Honourable Members. That brings us to the end of question 1 on the question paper. We move on. We will now move on to question 2 of the oral, printed on the question paper for oral reply. Honourable Premier, I recognise you.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to the Honourable Barnes. No formal celebration was held in the Western Cape in recognition of International Day of Criminal Justice. However, the Western Cape Safety Plan aims to tackle crime and reduce the number of victims, i.e. the Violence Prevention Program, and provide services to victims of crime around the whole year and not just on one day. The plan may be found on our website, and please, I urge you to go and have a look at it. And then B, no, and we do not take formal positions on anything and everything around the world. We do take formal positions on issues around the world that really talk to safety of our citizens, jobs or losing of jobs of our citizens, or anything that has any impact on the dignity or well-being of our citizens. Then we will definitely take a position. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. Honourable Barnes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, it is clear that the Premier and his provincial government care less about the people of Ukraine. They care more about the blue eyes and the blonde hair of Ukraine and less about the Palestinians. Palestinian people have been living for more than 56 years under Israel occupation.
Order, members.
More than 56 years, Palestinians have been living under the occupation of Israel's. What I would want to know, Speaker, is that we know that the Premier will not condemn the apartheid state of Israel as he has been condemning the Russians. So when will he meet the Palestinians and pledge solidarity with them? I just wanted to check that. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Barnes. Honourable Premier.
I'm not planning to meet them or pledge anything, but interesting that the Honourable Barnes talks about Israel, and I wonder what her behind-the-scenes conversation is like with their coalition partners who are in Israel at the moment, looking at coalition governments.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, are there any further follow-ups? As I recognise the Honourable Fry. Honourable members, there's an opportunity. If you have one follow-up question, there's no need to ask questions by not raising your hand. But if you do not use that process as part of the rules, you're out of order. So I now recognise Honourable Fry.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Thank you for the Honourable Premier for his answer. I just wanted to know, given the plan that is outlined, has there been any collaboration between the Western Cape government and the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development in advocating the plan? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Fry. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. Yes, that is one of the areas that I think we still have a lot of work to do. I know that from the Minister of Police Oversight and Community Safety's point of view in the platforms, we really look at how to work together far more closely in the full criminal justice system. Of course, this again is an area that is not a mandate of the province, but of course, crime and you know, the justice, the criminal justice system is an area that is of great concern because we don't seem to be getting a handle on crime in South Africa. We need to have a different policing model, but we also need to make sure that in the criminal justice system specifically, that we are putting away criminals that need to be put away, that we actually tighten up that system because definitely your percentage chance of getting caught is so slim, and then once you're caught, the percentage chance of getting a conviction is slim again. And there are a lot of questions to be asked there, and of course we need to make sure that we build that collaborative environment to raise these issues that are of huge concern to every single citizen in this province.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, are there any further follow-ups? Honourable Nkondlo.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to check with the Premier from his response, if he does recognize that in Palestine, there are families that are related to some of the citizens here in the Western Cape. And does it bother him, as he said, that he will speak on any matters that affect citizens of the Western Cape?
Thank you, Honourable Nkondlo. Honourable members, I just want to remind you that oral questions is linked to a an executive's role and constitutional responsibilities as per the office that they hold. Opinions and members' opinions cannot be posed. But Premier, I am not going to lead you into your answer. I'm going to allow you to respond whichever way you deem necessary.
Thank you very much. And I'm concerned for every single citizen in this province. I'm absolutely obsessed about making sure that we give the best service possible to those citizens. So I look forward to the email from the Honourable Nkondlo with the names of those citizens so I could interact with them.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. And the last opportunity is Honourable Barnes.
Thank you, Speaker. I think in last year we had a celebration in this building of lighting candles for the Ukraine. It happened here, Speaker. I just wanted to check, to which extent does your interest have to stretch for you to be acknowledged as a friend of this provincial government? Because Ukraine was celebrated here. What makes it different for Palestine? If I can get an answer to that. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Barnes. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. I can assure the honourable member and of course, this House, it is the full House, the Parliament. We weren't doing a celebration of Ukraine. We were actually standing up in solidarity with a country who was being illegally invaded and an illegal war. Where right now we know that we're getting closer and closer to 30,000 children who have been abducted. And of course, I think we need to also understand the impact. Because remember, I said earlier that, you know, we will take a position if we know that the impact is going to be hunger. The impact is going to, because what is the impact on our citizens? We know that our citizens are being impacted by this war. We know that food inflation is driven by this war. We know.
Order, members. Order, members. Premier, please take your seat. Premier, please take your seat. Honourable members, the Premier was posed the question, he's now responding. If you do not agree or do not like with the content of the reply, then, I mean, but that doesn't mean that the member cannot answer the question. I mean, we are getting to a point now where the decorum of this House is being compromised, and I'm not going to tolerate that. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. So obviously that's why this House must have taken this decision. It was not my decision, it was a decision of the House. And that happened in this very House as a decision of the House. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable members. Honourable members, that concludes question 2. We will now move over to question 3. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to the Honourable Kasim for the question. The tender to appoint a service provider to supply and distribute rechargeable lighting units with USB charging capabilities to identified beneficiaries throughout the Western Cape has been advertised. Upon closing, the various supply chain management processes will have to be followed. Upon conclusion, the contract will be awarded to the successful bidder. B, an estimated 400,000 load shedding packs will be distributed to 5 beneficiary groups in the Western Cape. These are as follows. Rechargeable lighting unit with USB charging. We're looking at supplying to 23,084. That is matric pupils in quintiles 1 to 3, schools of 1 to 3 quintile. Residents of the Western Cape Government Department of Social Development, DSD-funded frail care centres and assisted in independent living facilities. That's 10,229. Persons with disabilities in DSD facilities. That's 1,647. Agri workers, 20,000, and indigent residents, 349,056. And then C, the load shedding packs will be provided to indigent residents who are currently registered on the municipal indigent registers in the 24 local municipalities and the city of Cape Town. Indigent registers are compiled annually through the municipal processes that are updated, and only households registered on the indigent registers of the various municipalities will benefit.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Kasim on the virtual platform.
Thank you, Speaker. Premier, so does this mean that your promise that indigent households will get electricity load shedding kits by winter in 2023, was this an empty promise like you did when you told the country that Western Cape will procure its own COVID-19 vaccines, which never materialized, seeing that you're saying that they still need to get those kits? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Kasim. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. Obviously, I wish I could bypass supply chain and go directly, but of course we must follow proper processes, and I'm seriously hoping that in the next couple of weeks this will be completed and handed to households during this winter.
Thank you very much, Premier. I recognise Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Could the Premier give a specific date? We have seen, for example, that BMWs are standing idle for over 7 months now. So when the Premier says a few weeks, I would like to ask him, could he please give an accurate date for when these packs, in fact, the over 500,000 packs will actually reach their destination? Could the Premier commit to a specific date of delivery and when all deliveries will be completed?
Honourable members, Premier, before you respond, can I just once again remind members that you are allowed one follow-up question based on the rules that we all agree to. So, Honourable Premier, once again, I'm not going to dictate how you answer that, but one follow-up question for all the other questions that's going to follow.
Thank you very much to the Honourable Dugmore for the question. The answer is no. And the second part, he must listen, it's 400,000 and not 500,000.
Thank you very much. Honourable Fry.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you very much to the Premier for that answer. How will we ensure that the quality of these packs are of a standard that is acceptable to the citizens that need it so desperately? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Fry. Honourable Premier, did you get that?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. And obviously, this is the difficulty in an open procurement process, because you've got to put a bid together. You first got to identify who's got to get. Then you've got to put the bid together. And of course, we want to give as much as we can with the limited funding that we do have. But we only will really know this when the market responds to say, yes, we can deliver X. And, it's got to be something that's going to last. It's got to be something that is going to, manage, at least a few hours of load shedding. Obviously, at load shedding level 8 or whatever, that might be something different. But the procurement is within the current framework of, 4 to 6 load shedding levels. And will it be able to help a matriculant study for the upcoming exams? Because we cannot allow the failure of giving electricity to our citizens and that load shedding really to impact heavily on the outcomes of our matriculants, or the elderly, or the disabled, or the different categories that have been identified.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, are there any further follow-ups?
Yes, Chair. Speaker, I did indicate on the chat that I have another one.
Honourable Dugmore, please pose your question.
Thank you, Speaker. Could the Premier please indicate, in terms of the specifications of the procurement, what is the average unit cost of these particular emergency kits?
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. Honourable Premier.
The point of a procurement process is to ask the market what they can supply. I don't know that until the procurement is completed. I would have thought the Honourable Dugmore would have known that by now. So I don't know yet. That's why we've gone out to market. When it comes back, we then have to make a decision on, yes, it's within a range and we can get it done, but we've got to wait for the tender to come back.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, that concludes question 3 on the question paper. Just for the record, we now move on to question 7. Under question standing over from the 20th of July 2023, as agreed to by the House. I recognise the Honourable Minister Mbombo.
Thank you, Member Van Vogel, for the question about the NHI pilot, but I wasn't sure because the NHI has 3 phases. Phase 1 was in 2012, 2017. So that one, the evaluation was done by the national. I think probably you do have an access in terms of that. So the phase 2, which is now 2017-18 to 2022-23, is the one that I'm responding to, which is the main focus for now. The pilot is about contracting unit for primary health care, which is CUPS, of which is each and every province has been provided in terms of where they will want to pilot it. For us in the Western Cape, for the CUPS, we're doing it in the Knysna Bito sub-district. The whole overall aim is about to ensure that you get the demographics of a place correctly, and then you also work together, because the whole issue of the whole of society, work together with the public, the private, the civil society, non-profit organizations is crucial in that defined geographical area, is part of the lessons learned. And it is exploratory in nature. That's why each and every province, the ideal is about to develop, each province needs to develop its own CAPS plan based on their own understanding. What we have taken into consideration, because the framework was developed December 2022, we have to consider about 7 things, which is the scoping of the existing services, which is already we have worked it out, although we started this year. The health information system, because it means that every service provider in that particular area, they will end up using more or less the same system. The CUPS, which is the CAPS governance, at this stage, we don't know exactly what does it mean. Accreditation, because some of them might not necessarily have been providing services, especially the civil society or the NPOs, because they need to be accredited. Service delivery model, we don't know exactly that when we are all combined under the same roof in that space, exactly what does it entail, and then how the communication will be. And the workforce matters, especially in the context where in the other area, in the other service provider might have been accredited for something else, but only to find that actually they don't have the staffing that is required to deliver that service. And of course, lastly, the legal implications, because currently health, everyone is using the public services. If you want to sue or complaints, the system, it says that it's the executive who's responsible for that. But now, if it's going to be provided, service is going to be provided by someone else, NPO, it will be referred there. Who's going to take the responsibility in regard to that? So I'm responding on the phase 2, which is the CAPS. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognize Honourable Van Vogel.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we recently visited the Southern Cape, the Garden Road, and we got a glowing feedback about the NHI pilot. Now my question, Chair, Speaker, to the Western Cape government, to our MEC, because she made it clear on numerous occasions that it does not support the NHI. It rather support the objective of universal health coverage. Now, I want to understand from the MEC that given these success stories of the NHI in the Western Cape, has there been a change from her government in terms of supporting the NHI? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Van Vogel. Honourable Minister.
I think the member is asking 2 different things. There is now NHI, which is already in the NCOP as part of the legislation. Therefore, whatever legislation that gets passed anywhere, which becomes South African legislation, in terms of the Constitution, when we say that we swear to uphold in terms of the acts and everything related to the South African government, we respect the rule of law. There's a difference around that. Secondly, secondly, which is still both is a 76 bill, so it's still going to be discussed. I think there's going to be presented here among the SC. Now, on the issue of a health reform, which is what as a party, which is the ANC, they came up part of their resolution, which is where they say they want to implement. We made a contribution, because it's a health reform. We made a contribution before even the phase 1 of the pilot. That's why the 10 areas where they used in the first pilot, which is the ward-based primary care teams, school health, the GP contracting, the ideal clinic, district clinical specialist teams, centralized chronic medication dispensing, health patient records, stock visibility and availability, the infrastructure, the workload. It means that we had an opportunity to tweak whatever that needs to be tweaked. For example, if they are saying in Eden, because it was Eden for the phase 1, the pilot, when they say in Eden, we are going to build or extend Pakelstorp. We are going to extend Blanco, I'm making an example because I'm recently coming from there. So you're not going to say no because it's part of your thing. It's because Blanco needs to be extended. So if they're going to say that we are giving you that buses for the school health program, these are required, whether there is an NHI, when there is no NHI. So one of the changes, for example, in the, just making an example of the GP contracting, we did it our own way. We didn't do it their own way because we do need sessional doctors who will come at the clinics at certain times. But instead of centralizing them, where it's going to be managed in Pretoria at the time, we said, give us that money, we'll do it ourselves so that they become part of the team. The district specialist team is what I was paid to be a consultant at the time for the National Department of Health, focusing on the maternal and child health, but that was my program. So when we came to the Western Cape at the time, was not there at the time, for them to sell this, they said we wanted another way around, because we want those specialists to be part of a regional hospital, provincial hospital, so that, for example, if they're in Paarl, they can do the outreach for the whole of the winelands, instead of where they're sitting somewhere, maybe here in Cape Town, and then they're being called in a specific area and they're there, suppose they wanted them to be part of the team. So my point is about, just because we are not necessarily supporting, because noting NHI is a money bill. It's about money. It doesn't say anything about universal health coverage. What South Africa needs is a universal health coverage where nobody has to pay for service. It's an affordability. There's no point, money exchange at the point of service where it reaches out to everybody. There is no one anywhere in the world could say no to UHC. We are saying no to NHI because it focuses on the funding without necessarily looking at the strengthening the whole health system. So you need to understand that what is it that we are saying no to. But if it happened that it ended up being passed, it will be South African legislation. It means we respect the rule of law, but we'll do our own way where it has to make sure that we strengthen the health system. It doesn't leave Antisara behind. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, are there any further follow-up questions? Honourable Windvogel, and then Honourable Barnes and Honourable Maseko, and that is in that order.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I try to understand from the Tanisara's point of view what the Minister have just said. We don't need the NHI, meaning that the Antisara will never be helped. Get the Antisara at the moment are turned away from facilities because it's too full. There's not enough space. That's what is happening at the moment with the Antisaras. And the Minister is saying that's the way to go because he's saying we are already doing that. We are already implementing the universal health coverage. But nevertheless, Speaker, I want to check with the Minister the possibility, because he mentioned that they are doing their way, the possibility of the West Cape to use its own funds to extend the NHI pilot to other districts in the same as the KwaZulu-Natal did when it used its own funds to expand the NHI to a third district. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Windvogel. Honourable Minister.
Okay. I think before I answer the question, I also need to respond to the remark. We didn't say where things are, it's about they are perfect. They are not. Like you have just not been even given 1.5 billion, the shortage of our budget. It's not. And there are more people who are the third populace. It's not. That's why I was saying that it's a UHC, not NHI. NHI won't make Auntie Sarah to access the bed. It won't. It won't.
The members.
I think the doctors, the summer, they even indicated it won't. What needs to happen? What needs to happen? It's about how do we ensure in terms of the equity, and all of those.
Honourable
So
Minister, please take your seat. Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable members, this constant conversating with the Minister while she's responding is unparliamentary. Honourable Barnes, you are asking questions to the Minister while she's responding. You have been acknowledged. You will have an opportunity to do so. Honourable members, this is the last time I'm asking to please cooperate and respect the member on the floor. Yes, this is a warning for the whole House. Honourable Minister, my apologies. Please continue.
Let me use an example because we have been speaking about Auntie Sarah. Let me just probably, through you, Speaker, to demonstrate how I present the UHC we want to the Auntie Sarahs as the health users. I'll say that currently we have got a situation where others will be like driving a Benz, others will driving a Toyota, others in a bicycle, others are walking. In terms of the health system, I'm just defining all the cars and whatever. It's about a health service that is happening. Where we stand, it's not acceptable that there are people who still gonna be using donkey cart or will be walking. It's not acceptable. Also, it's not acceptable that the state will pump money for the other people to drive a Benz. What we're saying that UAC, wait, you ask a question, I'm responding to you. So what you are saying, it's about UHC, it's about everyone else. The state could at least do the minimum of everyone drives a Toyota. Meaning you bring everyone, I'm making an example, a Toyota. If it so happens that you want to drive a Benz, continue. It's the same thing. Not everyone you have to build RDP houses. I can have a mansion if I can afford, but I mustn't expect the state to be able to build myself a mansion. That's what you are saying. It's about we need to create enabling environment for such. NHI doesn't say that if you are walking, if you are whatever, you'll end up being able to drive a Toyota. What it's saying is about all of you who are driving the Benz now must come, and then you ended up you all walking. We all agree that you cannot use state's money to fund the others, and then you leave behind the others. That is what universal health coverage is all about. No one mentioned a medical doctor like a South African Medical Association. They say no to NHI, and these are part of the people who are supposed to be that. I'm talking about that. So the NHI is a money thing. It doesn't say anything that Auntie Sarah will be able to access. So we don't support NHI. We don't. We support the UHC. However, if now end up legislated, we will customize and tweak it and still pilot the UHC. We are going to pilot. Now, your last question about the KZN. You are asking about the first phase. You are asking about what happened in 2012 to 2017. That is the phase one. During that time, every province had a district where the national was piloting. That was every province. For us, it was the Eden stroke Garden route. They report all of what was presented there. That's why they didn't even want to open it. It's about, it was dismal, dismal, dismal. Even they even have to take some of the money when the president came and say that there is a, stimulus for the HR, was using that. So it was dismal failure. So that's why nobody talks about what happened in the phase 1. Mention now what is happening with the ideal clinic. Mention to you what is happening with the ward-based primary health care, all those 10 areas. So the question is about how will you be able to add? But that one, it ended in 2017. Now we're talking about the CAPS, CUPS, which is each and every province takes one area where they could be able, like, add recipe and come up in terms of, if now we ended up implement the CUPS in those areas, what kind of a method that we're going to use. So that's where we are. So you cannot go back in terms of the phase 1 that disappeared long ago. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I now recognize Honourable Barnes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my Speaker.
Please take your seat. Honourable Barnes, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question to the Minister through you would be, where the Minister is saying that funding was received from NHI and they were able to make tweaks and turns and the money was used. And from practicality side, one knows that NHI is operating specifically in the area of Canaland. I just forgot the name of the town. I think it's Ladysmith, where one could see the difference of what impact it could have in communities. What I want to know from the Minister, leave UHC, NHI, we received money as this department, this government. Does NHI work, from your opinion, from what we've seen in Ladysmith? What response would you give and account for what we got for Canaland on the NHI, George and Canaland? I just wanted to hear that from the Minister. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Barnes. Honourable members, just once again, you cannot ask a member for their opinion. So I'm just putting it for the record. But Minister, you can answer however you so wish.
With the health and opinion, I'm so opinionated about that. I think also when you say money for NHI, in the phase 1 pilot, it was meant specifically for that. So that's why now we are reminding, for example, infrastructure, we are reminding them, you still owe us. The parking, the park stop, and all of those, that was part of the NHI, which is the infrastructure we needed. So therefore, when they have to do and give us that money, even with a NHI funded GPs, it's because it was the money that was supposed to come, that was already committed at the national level to go to the provinces. So whether it's for NHI, no, wait. It's not whether it was for NHI, for the whatever, but the principle is about, it's not an additional money. It's about when you're going to have this 20 million and then they give you 2 million. You cannot say no. And then the last part of it, noting, once phase 3 is done, there's less money coming to the province, by the way. The mere fact that actually they've decreased, because the equitable share in everything now is going to go to, whether to the NPO, whether to the private, whoever can do the services. In the NHI legislation, it says we'll be responsible for the EMS, for the forensic pathology, and probably, and for the provincial hospital. The rest, which is these CUPs that are being tested. So through you, Chair, in Beaufort West, there might be Auntie Sarah, whoever who will be running a service provision in terms of running maybe immunization and whatever, which has got nothing to do with us. So when they complain, they will have to complain straight to Pretoria, because we won't be running. So with the money that we already have now that has been decreased, it will be worse. And luckily, they won't be running to us. However, constitutionally, we're supposed to be responsible for the total health of the population in terms of the province. So that's where things are. So my point is about there is no health professional who will say that they are very happy where South African health system is. And then lastly, the issue of trying to create binaries between the public and private. Remember, National up to now hasn't done anything related to the regulation of the private. The private is the referee, is the player, is everything. So why is it that? So it cannot be now where I've got a situation where it's about now they want us to fight when they haven't regulated, because they do their own thing. No one knows in terms of the clinical outcomes. No one knows about the death within the private and all of those because it's not being regulated. So lastly, Speaker, I still say universal health coverage in South Africa is the way to go. NHI is not a solution to the state of the health system, which now actually the cracks has been more severe the post-COVID. That's where things are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Order, members. Members, the time for questions will be running out. Can you please work with me because there's still questions on the oral question paper for reply. Honourable Maseko. All right, honourable members, are there any further follow-ups on that question? Right, that brings us to the end of question 7. I now recognise Minister Simmers for question 4 under new questions.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Am I audible?
You are indeed.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. Member, it is unfortunate as there are anecdotal reports that some of these illegal land invasions are prompted by certain political parties and or figures within such political parties. However, I do not want to be accused of misleading the House or casting aspersions. It appears the person or persons that lead these invasions are faceless, and hence no arrests or prosecutions have occurred. Therefore, I will be focusing on the alarming and exponential rate of illegal invasions in our province, particularly in the Cape Metro. Our residents are being misled by certain so-called leaders to invade land as they will be assisted much quicker. This is the classic case of queue jumping being indoctrinated in these communities, sometimes by the very political leaders they entrust to empower them with legal advice and guidance. Sadly, this is not how the housing allocation process works. Furthermore, our residents end up invading dangerous and unhabitable land, like we have seen wetlands or places where people live below the floodline, which ultimately puts those very same communities in grave danger. It is for this reason why I have set aside the month of August to crisscross the corners of the Cape Metro to engage residents living in informal settlements in specific sub-councils. These engagements will be the opportune platform to educate those residents directly on the myriad of housing opportunities other than the traditional free and subsidized dwellings or BHGs, which they are encouraged to forcefully demand or to possibly jump the queue for. As a parting comment, Honourable Speaker, through you to the member, I would like to appeal to our residents who are tuned in today to not allow these unscrupulous so-called leaders to manipulate or to use you for their own cheap political gains toward the elections of 2024. I also would like to challenge the honourable members of this House to bring forth any information that could assist in alleviating this problem to bring these unscrupulous events to an end, but also to refrain from commenting on WhatsApp groups or sending around malicious SMSs or WhatsApps, which seemingly encourages land invasions and attempts of illegal land occupation. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, with 23 seconds remaining for questions for oral reply, I'm not going to allow any follow-up questions because we've come to the end of questions because the Minister won't be able to respond in the time allocated as per the rules. So all outstanding replies will therefore be printed in Hansard. We then move on to Rule 204 for questions to the Premier without notice. Honourable members, I just want to remind you that 2 follow-ups by the member posing the question which relates to the original question to the reply. The first member is Honorable Kama for questions to the Premier without notice.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think recently there was a video clip showing the poor conditions that the people of Stasi live under, which is near Gouda in Saras, where I think there's a farmer who switched off their electricity and water, and for some time they have not had such. And this farmer failed to evict them after he could not prove that he owns the property. Now, I want to ask to the Premier, through you, Speaker, that Premier, given that your government prides itself on being a government that cares and works for the people, does your government care about the people of Stasi? And if so, why has it allowed the people to be abused like that? And when can we expect this government to intervene and ensure that not only are the basic services like electricity, water, and sanitation reconnected, but that there are other government programs to improve the poor living conditions of the people in the area? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. For the rest of the questions to the Premier, please, Honourable Members posing questions to the Premier, you must ask one question. You have 2 follow-up opportunities for follow-up question. Again, Premier, I'm not going to dictate how you answer that question, but please note for the record, 1 question with 2 opportunities for follow-up questions. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and to the Honourable Kama for the question. Unfortunately, I have not seen the video and I do not know the detail. But if the Honourable Member gives it to me, I can definitely go and investigate, because obviously I've said in this House, we care for our citizens. We are citizen obsessed, and we've got to make sure that we are fair and that we are offering the best services that we can.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Kama, your first follow-up.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. At least I know the Premier is aware of the living conditions of the people, especially your farm workers in these farm areas, and that we know that agriculture is a key pillar of Western Cape economy, and that in 2020 the province exported 78 billion rand worth of agricultural products. Now, I therefore want to understand what are the specific Western Cape government programs that are catered to respond specifically to these economic conditions of the poor farm workers who are living as modern-day slaves in areas like Stasi, while the white farmers continue to rake in the billions.
Honourable Premier. Thank you, Honourable Kama. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. I did refer the Honourable Kama earlier to the Growth for Jobs strategy. I think that speaks specifically to making the biggest difference that we can. Nothing stops a bullet like a job. Nothing gives you dignity like a job. Nothing ends poverty like a job. We are serious about making sure that we have the biggest impact possible in this country on creating employment. And I think our track record has shown that. Of course, again, if it is a specific issue in a specific place, we are more than happy to go and engage. We have a specific unit that looks after the interests of issues that farm workers face. There's even a membership group of farm workers who sit on a panel that the Minister of Agriculture meets with regularly to discuss farm worker issues. We can feed it straight in there as well. So absolutely, the Honourable Member doesn't have to wait to try and ambush me here with a question. He can give me the detail and we will deal with it decisively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Kama, your last opportunity.
I'm not ambushing anyone, Speaker. No, the last follow-up question that I have, Speaker, is because the full flay station situation is not an isolated incident. Many other farm workers suffer the same treatment from farmers who use basic services like water and electricity to coerce workers to do what farmers want. many more farm workers are without electricity as we speak in a province that has made the loudest noise about load shedding. Now, to the Premier, through you, Speaker, I want to understand what his government is going to do differently to protect the rights of farm workers and guarantee them uninterrupted access to basic services like water and electricity. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. Honourable Premier.
So, I mean, first of all, if you look at many of our interventions and policies, they will be directed specifically at farm workers. I mean, whether it's even the indigent load shedding packs directed at farm workers, specific projects in human settlement delivery focused at farm workers, economic development opportunities, agricultural opportunities, all focused at a specific sector. But I can tell you also, I refer back to growth for jobs. We've got to grow this economy. We have a shrinking economy, getting downgraded all the time, less and less money coming into the system. And of course, we need to turn that around. We need to grow. And everything that is going to impact on someone who's a farm worker or someone who has less than anyone else, especially unemployed people, we've got to intervene in those areas. We've got to make sure that we bring about change in those citizens' lives, exactly referring to the previous question from the honourable member on what is it that we need to do in that original vision of our constitution to make the biggest difference we can, 30 years into our democracy. But what happens is when we see something that is going to have a huge impact on farm workers, probably the biggest impact on farm workers immediately is AGOA. And his party takes a stance that puts all of those farm workers' incomes at risk. Absolutely at risk. Unbelievable.
Honourable Premier,
And
please
it's
take your
his
seat.
party that's taking that stance.
Honourable Premier, please take your seat. Honourable members, in particular Honourable Maran, firstly, you cannot interject from a bench that is not yours. That's unparliamentary. So you are not in your bench. So can I please ask that you adhere to the rules of this House and the decorum of the House? Honourable Premier, please continue.
Thank you very much. I would encourage the whips to give him a workshop. But, you know, so it always amazes me, those things that are going to make the biggest difference or have the biggest negative impact get totally ignored by the ANC. You know that on AGOA itself, and I saw after I visited the US on AGOA, which is about jobs. It's not about anything else. It's about jobs in the economy and growing opportunity for our citizens. Nothing else. That's what it's about. A frantic visit to the US by 3 ministers, a frantic visit. And then, you know what happens? The very same committees in their parliament who are having a look at this piece of legislation and the impact it has on South Africans, I make a submission to that standing committee in America. And on Monday night, I make a submission verbally to the standing committee on Monday night on protecting and saving jobs in South Africa. Farm worker jobs in the Western Cape, jobs in the automotive industry in the Eastern Cape and in KZN and in Gauteng. Guess what, Speaker? I am the only politician making a representation. There's nobody else on behalf of any other province there, and there's no one from South Africa's national government. They are just missing in action. And you know the most amazing thing? I get a call from COSATU afterwards to say, how did it go? Because why? At least they're interested in jobs, not the ANC. Not
Order.
the ANC at all. They
Order,
don't
members.
care about jobs in our country, and they definitely don't care about the unemployed in our country. But I want to say to the honourable member that if these conditions, the way he spells out here today, please give me the detail. I will engage with the Minister of Agriculture. We will go and have a look, and we'll see how we can remedy the situation. But most importantly, we need to make sure that we expand the economy, jobs, and create opportunities for every single individual in this province that wants a job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. That brings us to the end of question 1 to the Premier without notice. I now recognize Honourable Mvimbi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Can you hear me, Honorable Speaker?
Loud and clear, sir.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask the Premier, what is the provincial economic growth outlook for 2023?
Thank you very much, Honorable Mvimbi. Honorable Premier.
The revised outlook, which is slightly up now at 0.4%.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable Mvimbi, your first opportunity for a follow-up.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would have thought that given the Premier is basing his growth for jobs on growth outlook in the Western Cape, I would have thought that, of course, although the Premier is not really correct, but the actual figure is 0.3. But however, my next question is, how does the DA envisage achieving a growth rate of 4 to 6% in 12 years' time? That is up to 2035, when it's only achieving 0.3% growth after 14 years of the DA rule.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Did you get that?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much to the Honorable Mvimbi. If I can correct, I know he said he wanted to correct me. I'll correct him because I saw the presentation from the national government and the National Treasury yesterday, which downgraded South Africa down to 0.3 and the Western Cape up to 0.4. And because the whole point of growth for jobs and breakout strategy is because ANC policies in South Africa have given us the worst economic environment ever, driven by absolutely failed ANC policies. We've got grey listings. We can't even keep the lights on under their rule. Higher and higher and higher unemployment rates, higher and higher murder rates and crime rates. The ANC is destroying South Africa and its economy. And if I'm looking at the messages,
Order,
if I'm
members.
looking at the messages out of the Budget Policy Committee that's happening in Tshwane or Pretoria right now, I would, if I was the Honourable Mvimbi, also start to get a bit worried. But it's obvious that the ANC doesn't keep their members updated as to the actual crisis that we find ourselves in South Africa under ANC rule. There's no fiscal management. There is no management that enables us to get any kind of positive economic result. But in this province, where we've shown, and we still have the lowest unemployment rate in South Africa, we have the fastest growth rate in South Africa. We are creating exponentially more jobs year on year now than ever before in this country, even though the ANC keep on dragging everything down the drain every single day on all of the really shocking decisions and the absolutely abysmal management that they put in place in running this country. And the real test is going to come next year when the citizens are going to vote them out because they've had enough.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. Honourable Mvimbi. Order, members in the House. Honourable Mvimbi.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. While the Premier really
Honourable Mvimbi, please take your seat. Honourable members in the House. There's a member on the virtual platform. We're struggling to hear that member. Please allow the member to pose his follow-up question. Can I please ask the whips on both sides to please assist me? Honourable Mvimbi.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. While the Premier really has failed to answer my questions directly, but it's clear that the manner in which the Premier is answering is really trying to decouple the economy of the Western Cape from the rest of that of South Africa. The difference is 14 years ago, the DA did not want an independent Western Cape. Today, unfortunately, they do. Is this decoupling of the Western Cape economy from the rest of the national economy, even though it doesn't make sense, part of the DA's program to make the Western Cape independent?
Honourable members, before Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. Absolutely, we need to decouple the Western Cape economy from the ANC's policy and the ANC economy, because the ANC economy is dragging South Africa down the drain. And we have to decouple. If you read the Jobs for Growth strategy, you will see it doesn't call it decouple, but it calls it breakout growth. So while the ANC Titanic keeps on going down, we need to turn that around and take it up. And that's exactly what the strategy is. There are more than 137, I think, engagements that have happened. This strategy is not just a strategy that we've sucked out of our thumbs. We have spent many months devising it, sitting with all of our universities, with the economists in our universities, meeting with business that sits in other provinces as well, and saying, what is it that we need to do to make sure that we are not pulled down the drain along with the ANC? Let's get that decoupling. Let's get that breakout growth. How do we make sure? And there's 7 priority areas in the nearly 200-page document. I would actually encourage the Honorable Mvimbi to go and read it. But I would also like to challenge the Honorable Mvimbi to, when he comes to this House, to come to this House with alternate solutions, and also come to this House to tell us one area, just one, where the ANC have actually got a success story and where we've got economic growth happening and it's really making a big difference to the citizens. Because at the moment, the indicators are showing exactly the opposite, whether it's jobs numbers, economic growth numbers, keeping the lights on numbers, hope or business confidence numbers, every single one of them. But I think the most important is how people in this country vote with their feet. How people vote with their feet. And that's why you can see from a planning point of view, we pass more plans than Gauteng. A 15% economy is now passing more plans than a 35% economy. Why? Because the ANC run that economy and we run this economy. And how do we take that and move it to the next level? Exponential growth. Now there's the plan. We've said that it's bold and ambitious, and we are going to drive this plan. He also referred to the economy of 1994.
Order, members.
He also referred to the economy of 1994, and this is also, I think, where the ANC absolutely failed. The world is in a very different environment. This province is in a very different environment. In 1994, we didn't have the smartphone. In 1994, we didn't have the tech and innovation capital, Silicon Cape. We've got that now. The economy is evolving, the economy is changing. But the one thing that's not changing in South Africa is ANC blind policy. Their blind policy of doing the same bean counting, racially bean counting people and not making a difference, only making 1 or 2 very wealthy ANC cadres. The systems of tendering can't get fixed. They keep the same thing because it makes very few ANC-connected people very wealthy and keeps the rest of South Africa poor and the economy going down the drain. We have to have breakout economic growth. We have to have that differential because we will not in this province be pulled down by the failure of the ANC. We will show you that DA policies work and make a difference. And we are focused on those citizens in our province. The 1.7 million, the 2.7 million in our province that have a job and the 700,000 that don't have a job, we need them to get a job and we need to grow the economy by doing so, not shrink the economy as the ANC does.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. We now move on to Honourable Bosman.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Through you to the Premier. As the province and the city gears up to host the 2023 Netball World Cup Premier, with the first game starting tomorrow, how do you envisage this World Cup positively influencing the province in terms of fostering new employment opportunities, boosting our local economy, and promoting the development of the sports at a grassroots level?
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, the Honourable Gillian. That, this World Cup, I'm super proud that we are hosting it here in Cape Town and in the Western Cape. I'm super proud that we can showcase what South Africa can offer here in this province, because of course this is the first time that this Cup has come to the African continent, even though South Africa was a founding partner of the World Cup for for netball. And so I think it's an honor. I think it's a privilege. I think the showcasing again of how well we put on events. I just look at the events last night. I was busy in a meeting looking at the next Formula E, which is another major global event that we hold here, while I saw some of you were enjoying some of the launches of this current event. But the visuals are amazing. It just shows the amazing place called Cape Town, called Western Cape, and called South Africa. And of course, everything we do for South Africa. That's why we get up in the morning and go to work, to show the difference between the other provinces. And I think it's an honor for us to be able to host this event. It's going to lead to economic growth. It's going to lead to further brand expansion. We get voted as the best city in the world time and time again. And here's an event in the best city in the world, busy showcasing to the world how amazing we are at putting on these events to welcome the world and show them what we've got here.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier, honourable members. That brings us to the end to questions to the Premier without notice as per Rule 204. Members, we will now move on to statements by members. In terms of Rule 145, I recognize the DA.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, the commencement of the Netball World Cup last night marks a pivotal moment for our province, presenting another golden opportunity for substantial economic growth. As the Premier reminded us, we're one of the only provinces creating economic growth. This event is predicted to bring a boost of about 68 million rand to the local economy. Sporting events in our province has a history of drawing large amounts of spectators, as we saw last night when young people were dancing to the music of Nasty C and Kurt Darren. And it leads to increased spending in our local establishments such as restaurants, hotels, and retail stores. Looking back at the last year, we witnessed the impact of major events on our economy. And in Cape Town alone, the 7 previous major events generated an astounding 5 billion rands worth of economic activity. We wish Gauteng could do that. The remarkable success story translated into numerous job opportunities and open up trading prospects for small and medium-sized enterprises. These figures paint a vivid picture of positive outcomes that sporting events can bring to our province. Therefore, we are once again grateful to the 1.4 billion that the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports has put aside for young people in this province. Honourable Speaker, let's not forget that there are still a lot more that is happening in our province, with more than 100 other sporting events set to take place in the Western Cape. And this will all contribute to the growth of our local economy. As the Democratic Alliance, we are committed to advocating for and for building our sporting sector within the province. We recognize the immense potential it holds to drive not just economic growth, but also to create employment opportunities and foster thriving, socially cohesive communities. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Bosman. I recognize the ANC.
Speaker, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you. Speaker, the African National Congress celebrates a historic moment of inclusivity and recognition as sign language is officially designated as the 12th official language of South Africa. We commend the President of our country for his visionary leadership in championing this decision, marking a significant milestone in our nation's journey towards inclusivity. The history of sign language in South Africa is deeply intertwined with the deaf community's experience and contributions. For years, this community faced challenges, including limited access to education, public services, and employment opportunities due to communication barriers. Yet they have shown remarkable resilience, advocating for the recognition of sign language as a fundamental aspect of their cultural identity and their right to communicate. Recognizing sign language as an official language began with the South African Sign Language Charter in 2018, affirming the rights and dignity of deaf individuals. The Sign Language Bill further advanced this process, engaging with stakeholders to shape its recognition. Today, we welcome sign language as the 12th official language, a significant stride towards an inclusive society. It ensures the deaf community's full participation in public life and enriches our cultural heritage. As the ANC, we commit to fostering an environment embracing diversity and upholding all South Africans' rights. We thank our sign language interpreters, including the person that we have doing sign language today, if she can thank herself as well for what she's been doing in this house and providing sign language to our viewers and the people of the province. We celebrate this milestone with them and pledge to work harder in ensuring inclusivity. Inclusivity is the very foundation of a united and prosperous nation where every person's abilities and contributions are valued. Let us move forward celebrating our linguistic diversity and empowering every person to participate fully, irrespective of their abilities. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. I now recognise the EFF. The EFF. I will then move on. I recognise the DA.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, homelessness continues to plague not only our province, but our country. While there is no recognized survey to tell us exactly how many are homeless in South Africa, that number is estimated to be in excess of well over 200,000. The Western Cape government is taking this very seriously and has nearly doubled the number of beds offered at homeless shelters since the pandemic. Even now, millions have been allocated to create a large brand new shelter for homelessness here in the city of Cape Town. But I have been troubled to see certain figures weaponizing the issue for their own political gain. Criticism is a necessary part of democracy, and this government welcomes the opportunity to be held to account by members of this House and members of civil society. This government has made concrete steps to provide the necessary assistance to homeless people, to provide beds, to provide food, meals, and employment opportunities to lift people out of the homelessness for good, to reintegrate them with their families. Some refuse reintegration. Many homeless people do not want to live under these conditions and accept assistance. Some just refuse any form of assistance. Government and other NGOs provide them. Many making use of our shelters, some bluntly refuse because they do not want the discipline rules imposed by shelter management. Speaker, we continue to find ourselves between a rock and a hard place in dealing with this issue. But as a responsible government and a responsible Department of Social Development, we will continue to do what is expected from us to assist homeless people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Plato. I recognise Good.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, we seem to not be winning in reducing the number of people living on the streets of the Western Cape. The fact that we have a very active homeless industrial complex is beneficial for all except the homeless. The latest editorial on how we are addressing the homelessness seems to be confirmed this notion. Figures provided cannot be confirmed as the city is not registered as a service provider with the Provincial Department of Social Development to have oversight over safe spaces. Let us take the figures at face value. 51,000 engagements report for July 2022 to June 2023. Nearly 3,500 of these individuals were seemingly assisted. This too is confusing because we only have 2,800 beds available, and most of these are paid for and occupied by SASSA grant recipients. Let's not forget Safe Space evict residents after 3 months, which means we are contributing to the increasing and not decreasing number of those living on the streets, which the city's new bylaws criminalize. The same goes for the work programs offered to the homeless who are used for cheap labor. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable de Villiers. I move on to the ACDP.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the illegal guns in the hands of the indiscriminate is causing havoc. There's a dire need for everyone in the Western Cape who calls it home must take hands to confront the current skirts of gun violence by reporting illegal guns to law enforcement agencies. Now, the fact is that the ANC nationally is not interested in saving or protecting lives of the people of the Western Cape. This province is under-resourced when it comes to the police. The criminal justice system is failing us. Speaker, it is reported that over a period of 2 years, there were 700 arrests where involved firearms, with only 6 convictions. This means a conviction rate of 0.98%. Speaker, as the ACDP, we want to know from the Premier and the Minister of Community Safety and Police Oversight, what is the Western Cape government is going to do to stop the killing of innocent people? It is reported today in an Afrikaans newspaper, byna 40 kinders in Januarie tot Maart vanjaar in die Weskaap vermoor. We read of a 15-year-old boy that killed a 14-year-old girl in East River. We read about a man cleaning his gun in Manenberg and killing a 9-year-old. Speaker, this is sad. It's sad, 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 and something must be done because, Premier, the ANC is failing us. They're not protecting our people, and it's just shocking. So we are calling on behalf of the people of the Western Cape for the Western Cape government to do something because the ANC is failing us. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Christians. I recognize the ANC.
Thank you, Speaker. The ANC notes the release of the Western Cape Growth for Jobs Strategy 2035 yesterday by the Premier. Whilst it is a norm to welcome governments forward-looking and planning for the future, the ANC in the province is, however, deeply concerned that the strategy will not lead to shared economic growth, but concentrated and racially skewed economy, whilst the poor will be prepared to line up for cheap, unprotected, below minimum wage jobs in the name of job opportunities. The script of the DA of private sector investment with minimal or no government role to intervene to ensure equitable redistribution of wealth created by this provincial economy is once again a demonstration of a party and pack of leaders with no ideas of dealing with modern day economic realities, as even the proponents of trickle-down economics have long left that station. As evidence of financial meltdown, COVID-19 and impacts of climate change have long told the fact of the critical role of governments in economies and in integration of social partners through compacts to mitigate known government failures, but also documented market failures registered through many studies of market economies. So DA illiteracy and dogma is nauseating, to say the least. The strategy, which comes few months too late, as the mandate of this government and crop of leaders is coming to the fold with elections of 2024. Why should we believe these electioneering ploys, where clearly the intention is to manipulate the voter, as the evidence of delivery is scant? And worse, that 3 administrations later, DA refuses to develop a strategy to respond to informal and township economies. Instead, it remains in the pipeline as you see it in Pillar 7 as a strategy that will still be developed. As the ANC are not moved by only the form of the provincial economy, but its content, which must be equitable, distributive, and inclusive for all. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nkondlo. I recognize the DA.
Honourable Speaker, yesterday the Democratic Alliance took to the streets of Cape Town in our numbers. South Africans from diverse backgrounds came together to march for a united cause, fair access to jobs.
Order,
This
members.
march was about so much more than politics. Our unemployment levels have skyrocketed over the last decade in this country, and now the ANC seeks to push legislation that will unjustly cost 600,000 people their jobs. If the draft EEAA regulations are implemented, it would affect some private sector employers employing 50 people or more. For example, if you employ 50 people, you would not even be able to employ 1 Indian person out of the 50, because 1 out of 50 is 2%, which exceeds the target they have set of 0.1%. In the Northern Cape, for example, some companies would be in violation of the law and penalized if they employed too many black women, for example. So if you are a 100% black woman-owned business, your turnover would literally be penalized. By contrast, in the DA-led Western Cape, we have increased employment by 15.7% in a year. We have created thousands of jobs, and we boast the lowest unemployment rate in this country. And since the ANC loves to discuss issues in demographic terms, I do feel proud to tell them that we also boast, in terms of the quarterly labor force survey, the lowest Black African unemployment and the lowest female unemployment in the country. We also have lower youth unemployment than our counterparts in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. What the ANC fails to acknowledge is that this real economic progress is the only way to address inequality. Our country, Speaker, remains deeply unequal, and this inequality is rooted in our history. But the simple fact is that the DA addresses inequality by means of economic stimulation through fair access to jobs, education, and health. Unlike the ANC, who wants to make the rich richer, the DA believes in equal opportunities for all. We are marching to the union buildings, and we call upon South Africans to stand with the Democratic Alliance, to send the ANC to the dustbin of history. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. I recognize the Freedom Front Plus. Honourable Murray.
Speaker, the Freedom Front Plus acknowledge the good governance in the Western Cape and maintain that only when leaders of other parties have the honesty and the courage to publicly criticize their own shortcomings and mistakes in their own organization and in provinces they govern, and the poor governance records, have they earned the right to criticize others. We hope that the ANC will heed this good advice when members of this House try to make of it a circus, and the Freedom Front Plus calls for a tightening of the rules of this House to create order and bring...
Order, members.
Oh.
Honourable Murray, you may continue.
The Freedom Front Plus calls for a tightening of the rules of the House so that members who misbehave will have a price to pay for misbehavior. Order. Thank you.
Order, members. Honourable Murray, please continue.
I will stop at that, Speaker, to make your task easier.
Thank you very much, Honourable Murray. I recognize Al-Jamaa.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, the Western Cape Education Department...
Order, members. There's a member on the virtual platform. Honourable Brinkhuis, please allow me one moment. Honourable members, there's a member on the virtual platform. Honourable Brinkhuis, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the Western Cape Education Department under the DA-led provincial legislator is doing a grave injustice to black children and coloured and Indian children by denying them their right to basic education. Section 29 of the Constitution specifically outlines the child's right to basic education. Al-Jamaa notes with concern the education crisis in the province, which has been persisting for many years. The WCED has no effective strategies to ensure that all children will be placed in schools but before the 2024 academic year. Over the years, thousands of children in the Western Cape province have been denied their right to basic education. Al-Jamaa calls on the DA-run province to stop holding back on budgets for education, to deploy officials at schools in areas where
Honourable Brinkhuis, we've lost you. Order, members. Order, members. Honourable Brinkhuis. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Majority Party and the Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition. I actually need you to support and assist me and not be part of. Honourable Brinkhuis. I will then move on to the DA.
Honourable Speaker, today I stand before the House with a heavy heart. I'm burdened by the potential loss of countless jobs in our beloved province and country. It is also deeply frustrating that Minister Patel has persistently refused to address our province's concern regarding the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA. If we do not act swiftly, Speaker, 136,000 jobs in the province's agricultural sector alone will be at risk, leaving countless families devastated and struggling to make ends meet. In my letter to Minister Patel yesterday, I emphasized the importance of AGOA for the province's economic growth and job creation. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa further confers responsibility to us on matters which include AGOA. Regrettably, the minister's response to me yesterday seemed to dispute the undeniable facts and statistics that underpin the significance of AGOA for our people. The refusal to acknowledge the realities of our situation is troubling. As Walter Kerr once said, he had delusions of adequacy. These words perfectly describe the minister's response to AGOA. We will therefore pursue further legal action if the minister fails to engage with provincial members of parliament on this critical matter, because time is of the essence, Speaker. In the spirit of cooperative governance, we are willing to explore all avenues for resolution, but if the minister continues to disregard our concerns, we will have no other choice but to issue summons and ensure that he provides information we need to safeguard the interests of our residents. Speaker, the DA's relentless efforts have led to promising developments. South Africa has been nominated to host the next AGOA forum, and there is now active collaboration with the US administration to secure an extension of AGOA before its expiry in 2025. We, as the DA, stand united in the pursuit of economic growth and job creation. We will not rest until we have exhausted all avenues to secure our AGOA status and protect the lives and livelihoods of our people. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Murray. Thank you, honourable members. That brings us to the end of member statements. In terms of Rule 145, subsection 6, I now give one or more members of the executive an opportunity to respond to member statements for not more than 5 minutes collectively. I recognise the Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I wanted to just add to the statement by the Honourable Nkondlo around the Growth for Jobs strategy. I welcome the fact that she's read it. I think that's at least a positive step. But I also want her to understand the context in which she is speaking, and that is the ANC economic context, which has 18 million citizens and growing on a grant and not in a job. It has a further 9 million citizens on 350 Rand a month. What can you do with that? And not growing jobs in the economy. 44% of our citizens are kept poor by the ANC and not given proper job opportunities. The ANC stands for zero opportunity, zero electricity, zero safety, and zero future. Thank
Order.
you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. I recognise Honourable Mania, Minister Mania, Minister Allen, Minister Meyer in that order. Order, members.
Thank you, Speaker. The Honourable Brinkcase evidently listens.
Order, members.
The Honourable Brinkcase evidently listens with his mouth, not his ears. He must have heard of the Rapid School Build program, where we are building schools faster than ever before so that we can expand access to education, especially in poor communities. Far from holding back on the budget, we plan to spend 2.9 billion Rand this year on infrastructure, which is roughly R1 billion more than we would normally spend on infrastructure. And for information, 55% of that budget is contributed not by national government, but by the Western Cape government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, on Minister Mania. I recognise Minister Allen on the virtual platform, members.
Thank you so much, Speaker. I will take 40 seconds. Speaker, I am grateful for the input from Member Phil and Christians. We will continue to hold SAPS accountable, knowing that our oversight is needing to lead to better service delivery. But in the same vein, we are calling for devolution of policing powers to capable provinces like the Western Cape. The 39 children that was murdered, that was referred to, I am able to announce that when we compared that particular figure to the same period last year, it was 20 less, a reduction. But even that reduction will never make us happy, because we would never want our children to be murdered. But I firmly believe that the Standing Committee, what we are doing as a government, we are continuing to work together. 163 firearms have been taken off the streets of the last year. We have seen operations, we have seen visibilities. Our policing needs have priorities, because we are wanting to see, Speaker, the 14.1% reduction in murders we are seeing in the province, when murder is increasing by 3.8% across our country. It's reducing here, but we will continue to hold the NPA accountable and to have those engagements, but also correctional services and all other entities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Minister Allen. I recognize Minister Meyer.
Honourable Speaker, I rise on the matter of the dignity and the well-being of farm workers. Speaker, dignity and well-being is a strategic priority of this government, and I believe that agri-workers deserve dignity, as they play a very important role in the economy of the Western Cape. And anytime when I hear about abuses, I would like to get that information, and I want to, in the context of the Premier's response, want to assure this House that I will take this matter up with my head of the department. I will send a delegation to this particular place where this abuses or alleged abuses have been taking place. And I am happy, Honourable Member van der Westhuizen, to bring back to this House the various responses. If there are any abuse of farm workers, I think we cannot tolerate it, but I need to have the facts and the information, and then we will certainly report back to the Standing Committee on Agriculture and Environmental Affairs. I think, honourable members, the attitude of this government is not to be defensive, but to follow up these issues. And honourable member Kama, you raised it. I will investigate it, and I will come back to this House, because to simply defend things that is indefensible is not in line with the spirit of this government. And so dignity and well-being applies specifically also to the agri workers, because they constitute 17% of the labor force of this province, and they are also fundamentally responsible for the agricultural
Minister,
production.
can you please conclude?
Total agricultural value production in this province is 50 billion, and I think they play a critical role.
Thank you very much.
Will be provided.
Thank you very much, Minister. Please, thank you very much, Minister. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of members' statements. We will now move over to notices of motions in terms of Rule 151. In terms of Rule 151, all notices of motions by members are required to be delivered to the Secretary for placing on the order paper. These motions have been duly submitted and published on the order paper below the line. We now move on to motions without notice in terms of Rule 150. I would like to inform the House that in terms of the new Standing Rule 150 pertaining to motions without notice, condolences and congratulatory were submitted to the Programming Authority prior to this plenary of the 25th of July 2023. Members are also reminded that motions without notice pertaining to congratulatory and condolences will not be allowed in the sitting and have not been processed by the Programming Authority. I have been informed that in the Programming Authority meeting, political parties did submit the names of the honourable members in the desired order of speaking and who had wished to move a motion without notice in the sitting of the House. I will therefore, just for noting and for purposes of the minutes, call out the honourable members whose names have accordingly been submitted and approved. The following members' motions have been approved by the Programming Authority as follows: Honourable M. Kama, Honourable C. M. Dugmore, Honourable N. G. Bakubaku Force, Honourable A. P. Barnes, Honourable N. G. Bakubaku Force. I now put the motions duly submitted and approved by the Programming Authority of to the House. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The motions will appear in the minutes of the proceedings and in Hansard in each individual member's name as if that member had read them out aloud. I will now afford the opportunity to members to move motions without notice as per Standing Rule 152, subsection D. This could also be motions without notice that were not approved in the Programming Authority meeting. Members are reminded that in terms of the rules, 30 minutes will be allowed for this section, and the 30 minutes will start now. I recognize the Honourable Seleko.
Somlomo, I move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance without notice that this House knows the ruling of the IEC, who found that Good lied about the incorrect voter registration in George. That this House notes that they are so desperate for power that they are willing to blatantly lie to media houses and spread misinformation. That they are real fraudsters and should be held accountable for their reckless accusations. This House notes that due to their actions, the Good Party Secretary General, Brad Herron, is now being investigated for intimidation and breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct. This House notes that even though the Good Party went through these extreme lengths, they still lost 3 wards in one day. Karma really is a dish best served cold.
Order.
The Good Party only has themselves to blame. They should accept their defeat, respect democracy, and move on. I so move.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Honourable members, are there any honourable members? There's no need for debate. I'm going to put the motion. If you have an objection, indicate so. There's no need for a debate.
Yes.
I have not put
Object.
it to the House. Honourable members, are there any objections?
Object.
Object.
Members, have you concluded? I will now put the motion. Are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice?
Object.
Object.
There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honourable Kama.
Speaker, on behalf of the People's Movement, which is time-tested, the African National Congress, I move a motion without notice that the House urgently calls for the DA-led City of Cape Town to address its neglect of Black lives in the wake of another tragic fire in SST Town 2, Ward 93, resulting in 2 more fatalities. This incident occurred in an area previously devastated by a fire that destroyed over 300 shacks, leading to the proposal of the Silvertown Emergency Housing Project. However, this crucial project remains unrealized due to the city's refusal to sign a land availability agreement with the Western Cape Department of Human Settlements. We condemn this neglect and demand immediate action to save lives and prioritize the safety and well-being of all citizens, regardless of their race. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honourable Lacker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House condemns the measures undertaken by the apartheid state of Israel in the reforms of their justice system, notes the concerns of justice-loving Israelis and Democrats across the world in how these measures will continue to solidify Israel as an apartheid state, warns the Israeli government that they are continuing the same path that the National Party in South Africa, and specifically Jimmy Kruger, did, and calls on the international community, including the national government of South Africa, to move for the international isolation of the apartheid state of Israel. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Lekker. Honourable members, are there any objection to the motion being moved without notice?
Yes, I
There
object.
is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I now recognize the Honourable Barnes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, on behalf of the African National Congress, I move without notice that the House notes with deep concern the recent court proceedings involving a security company boss accused of 26.8 million tender fraud within the DA-led Saldanha Bay municipality. These allegations jeopardize public funds and erode trust in government institutions and service providers. As a political organization committed to transparency and community well-being, we stress the importance of upholding the rule of law and respecting legal processes. We trust that the judiciary to conduct a fair investigation, upholding justice. However, we cannot overlook the poor oversight by the DA-led Saldanha Bay municipality and the DA's Provincial Community Safety and Police Oversight, MEC Regan Allen. The lack of effective monitoring in tender management raises serious concerns. The ANC firmly condemns negligence in overseeing public resources, undermining citizens' trust in elected representatives. We commit to monitoring this matter closely and call on relevant representatives to address similar issues. I so move, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Barnes. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honourable Maran.
Thanks, Speaker. On behalf of the Congress movement, a motion without notice. The House notes the solicited the Brede Valley municipality's failure to construct houses in outer towns like the Doring, Stousriver and Rossenville. It is disheartening that no house has been built in these towns over the past 5 years, but no future projects in the pipeline. Housing is a fundamental human right, and the lack of progress in addressing this issue hampers the well-being and dignity of our citizens. The ANC urgently calls for a comprehensive plan to put in place to expedite housing development in these neglected areas. We demand transparency in the allocation of resources and a commitment to prioritize housing projects in the outer towns. The ANC will closely monitor the implementing of these plans to ensure accountability and that the needs of our communities are met. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Maran. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honourable Maran.
Thanks,
Order members.
Speaker. Give me many chances today. That the House, a motion without notice, that the House notes with concern the Casidra's recent turnaround strategies for Malienstein and Wijkerl farms in the Southern Cape, considering their previous failures in managing these farms effectively. We acknowledge the importance of successful farm management in promoting agricultural growth and rural development. In light of these past shortcomings, we call for increased accountability and scrutiny of Casidra's approach to revitalizing these farms. The ANC urges Casidra to provide transparent reports on the strategies, progress, and utilization of resources. To ensure sustainable and successful farm management, we advocate for comprehensive oversight mechanisms and the inclusion of local stakeholders' input. This approach will bolster the farm's potential for economic growth and social upliftment, benefiting the surrounding communities. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Maran. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of motions without notice. But before we adjourn, I would like to deliver two rulings, outstanding rulings. During the sitting of the 15th of June, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition made certain allegations of corrupt practices by a DA mayor and asserted that a DA mayor, and I quote, withheld correspondence from the National Minister of Kokta and the Honourable Minister of Bredell, closed quote. He further said, and I quote, when they put forward the issue of the MM, they withheld information. The Deputy Chief Whip of the DA rose on a point of order and inquired whether the mentioning of Minister Bredel's name was a reflection on him as contemplated in Rule 59 of the Standing Rules. Honourable members, having had the opportunity to study the Hansard transcript, I find no reflection on the Honourable Minister Bredel by the Leader of the Opposition and therefore cannot sustain the point of order raised by the Deputy Chief Whip. A further point of order was raised by the Deputy Chief Whip of the DA, inquiring and accusing the Honourable Minister Simmers of corruption by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition constitutes a reflection on him in terms of Rule 59. Honourable members, having studied the Hansard and by the Honourable the Leader of the Opposition's own admission, I ascertain that he did not say that the Honourable Simmers was corrupt, but that he in fact said, and I quote, he is covering up corruption, close quote. Accusing an honourable member of covering up corruption is equally offensive and indeed a reflection of the integrity of the Honourable Simmers, and I therefore rule that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition withdraws the offending statement. I so rule. Honourable Dugmore. Honourable Dugmore. He's on the virtual platform. Honourable Dugmore.
Yes, I'm on the virtual platform and I withdraw that statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dugmore has withdrawn. I now move on to the next ruling. During the debate on the 1st of June 2023, honourable members, I'm delivering a ruling. During the debate on the 1st of June 2023, the Honourable Minister of Infrastructure made utterances in relation to the official opposition, whereupon a point of order was raised by the Deputy Chief Whip of the official opposition, inquiring whether it was parliamentary to refer to an Honourable Leader of the Opposition as a zombie. I inquired from the Minister whether he referred to any member of the House in those terms, upon which he responded that he said the ANC in the House is a zombie. I undertook to consult Hansard and revert to the House once I've had an opportunity to study the transcript. Members, having now had the opportunity to study the Hansard transcript as undertaken, I ascertained that the Honourable Minister said the following, and I quote, all the ideas are zombie-orientated with a zombie opposition leader in the House who has no backbone, close quote. I find the reference to the Leader of the Opposition as a zombie opposition leader in the House both offensive and unbecoming and therefore unparliamentary, and hereby request the Honourable Minister of Infrastructure to withdraw the offending rules. I so rule. Honourable Minister Simmers. Order, members. Honourable Simmers.
Thank you, Chair. It is Comrade Audrey.
Honourable Simmers, are you on the virtual platform?
Yes, thanks.
Honourable Simmers, are you on the virtual platform? Honourable members, the Minister is online. He's struggling with connectivity. Can I please ask that you allow the Minister? Minister? Honourable Minister Simmers, are you online? Honourable members, please allow the Minister a minute to reconnect. Can I just ask that the ICT please assist the Minister? Okay, members, one last time. Honourable Minister, are you online? Honourable Chief Whip.
Thank you, Speaker. The Minister did indicate that he will join virtually. He was online during the duration of the sitting. We even heard him vaguely whilst upon your conclusion of the ruling. So perhaps it's just a connectivity issue, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. I've also heard the Minister, so I take it that the Minister heard my ruling. I'm not going to hold the House further. He will. I have already ruled, and the application of that rule will be done at the next sitting. But I've already ruled. With that being said, that brings us to the end of the sitting of the House, and the House is adjourned.